So today I have another review video for you. This is going to be a book that I received from Netgalley in exchange for an honest review, and that is Americanized, A Rebel Without a Green Card by Sara Saedi. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on this, they will be spoiler free. Stay tuned and for the rest of this video. Hey y'all, it's Jen and welcome to my channel Ifers Inklings, and today I have a review video for you. I will be reviewing Americanized, A Rebel Without a Green Card by Sara Saedi, and this is a book that I received from Netgalley in exchange for an honest review. A little bit about this book. It is a young adult memoir. It does follow Sara's life as a teenager in the 90s. It does kind of jump around with some political events from that time period, from past time periods, and then it does also have current political events in it. Like I said, it is a memoir, and it talks about her life coming to the United States as a toddler. She was 2 years old when her parents immigrated to the United States, and they were undocumented. And this follows her process of becoming a legal immigrant and also a naturalized citizen. Overall, I enjoyed the story a lot. I thought it was everything that I would want in a memoir. It was poignant, it was humorous, it was timely, and it was educational. There were some cons to this book. So I'm just going to talk about those first, get that out of the way. There's not many. The timeline of the book was a little distracting until I kind of figured out what was going on. The story was not chronological in time. It did kind of jump around, and one chapter she may have been 13, and in the next chapter she was 17, and so on and so forth. It kind of jumped around that way. It was organized by topic. So each chapter had a heading of whatever that chapter was going to be about. Also, there were several words that were Farsi, and I think that's how you say it, words. These words were defined in the footnotes of the chapter, and I was reading this on my Kindle. It was an eARC, and so this may not have been a problem or a negative in the book itself, in the physical book. But there were words that were used that weren't defined until the very end of the chapter. And so if I was reading a physical copy of this book, it would have been very easy to flip to the end of the chapter, see what that word meant in English, and continue on with the story. But for me, I had to read the word, and then at the end, I was able to read what the word meant, or the event, or the dish that they were talking about. So that was a little distracting because I didn't always know exactly what they were talking about until the end of the chapter. So as you know, I always check for potentially offensive content, and especially with young adult books, I look for specific things a little more heavily because I am looking for books that we can include in our middle grade library. And there are some things that I can't include in our library if this content is in the book. And this is one that I would not be able to include in our library. It does state that it is for ages 14 and up, and that's probably a good age range for this book. I would have no problems with recommending this to a high school student. But middle graders are a little bit younger, and so this is not one that I would be able to recommend to a middle grade student unless I knew their parent would not mind this content. And it's just very mild. There is some mild language. I think throughout the whole book there was like less than 10 cuss words, which is not bad, but for middle grade, those parents don't want their kids reading about cuss words. There was also some mild references to drugs, specifically marijuana, and also some references to sex. Let's talk about the pros of this book, because this is where there are a lot. First of all, I was captivated by this story from the very beginning. Sara did a wonderful job of writing this book. Her memoir was engaging and captivating. It was laced with humor throughout the whole book. There were times that I just laughed so hard because it was funny. There were also times that were very heart-wrenching and very touching. I mean, this is about a child who was worried the entire time she was a teenager about being deported to a country that she hadn't been in since she was 2 years old. So it would have been scary. You know, she had to really think about what she was doing, where she was going, who she was with, who she confided in. You know, because any small crime that was committed by her or anybody in her family could have her application for a green card and her whole family's application for a green card denied. And then they would have been deported back to Iran. And Iran was not a place in the 90s that was a place that you would want to grow up, especially coming from the freedoms that we have here in America and had in America in the 90s. You know, at that time, Iran was going through its revolution to what we know Iran today. I really felt that the story was told in a way that really invoked compassion for her. As a teenager, as someone who was an undocumented or illegal immigrant, and just what they had to go through. You know, you hear today people say, well, why didn't they just become legal? And you don't understand how long of a process and how difficult of a process this is. It took something like almost 20 years for them to get their green card. And they had applied 20 years earlier. And then it takes another at least 5 years between the time you get your green card until you can apply to become a naturalized citizen. So all in all, it was like a 24, 26 year process for her to become a natural citizen. And she came over when she was 2 years old. So she didn't have her choice. It's not like her parents would have left her in Iran and come over here. You know, she just didn't have a choice in the matter whatsoever. I also really enjoyed the detailed explanation of the process to become a legal immigrant and what all her family had to go through and the roadblocks that they hit time and time again, and the people that did help them navigate this system. Also, this book is set in the 90s. Sara was a teenager in the late 90s. She has an older sister who graduated high school in 1995. That's the same year I graduated high school. So I really did enjoy all the references to things that I remember being a teenager during that same time period. It made me very nostalgic. I'm not even gonna lie. So my rating and my recommendation, I highly recommend this book to everybody. This does release on February 6th, so I hope to have my review up by that day. Go out and pick this book up. It was very informative. It was very intriguing. I found it to be very funny. I found myself wanting to go back and read this book. It wasn't one that I put down and didn't want to pick up. I was definitely wanted to read it and continue on with it. And memoirs are something that I don't always want to read. They're not always engaging to me. Most of the time I find them rather boring, but not this one. This one was very enthralling to me. Lastly, my actual rating of it is a 4.5 stars. On Goodreads, I did round it up. So that's it. That is my review of Americanized, Rebel Without a Green Card. If you have enjoyed this review, please give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know also if you are going to read this book based off of my review of it. And until next time, bye.